Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton and Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners across the pond in London, England, in Paris, France, of course, Latin America. We love you good old boys down there. But Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going on this beautiful September 27th, 2017, Big C? Yeah, Big C, I tell you, there's nothing wrong. They always say it's all fair in love and war. And I think sometimes you can open up Pandora's box when you realize that a lot of people, they're just not, there's no saints in any business. There's only people that we put up on a pedestal. And we were just talking yesterday, of all things, and maybe we should talk about the lottery more because things we talk about tend to happen. We were just talking yesterday about will it come down on good old boys like Patino. The first wave was they put the black men out in front, but they don't own these organizations. They work for somebody. And now all of a sudden, one of the iconic coaches in the history of college sports is suspended for some of the same things we talked about yesterday. Big C, your thoughts? Yeah.
We've reached way back into the years when I played college athletics. And, you know, this situation is not going to go away. People are wanting to say right now, it's about the one-and-done players. It's not about the one-and-done players, Charlton. This is about the corruption and ineptitude and lack of institutional control that's always been around college athletics. You know, and I talked about the center that was on our college team. It was, you know, his grades were paid for him to go to college. This back in the 70s, Charlton.
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
And so this is something that has gone on for decades, and people are trying to say, well, no, it's only about the big shoe contracts. That's a big part of the money. You know, Louisville had a $150,000 shoe contract from Adidas, the university did.
Yeah.
Third, fourth richest of all time. Why do you need to pay a university $150,000 for their kids to wear the shoes? I mean, we don't want shoes for free.
Yeah.
Rydell was paying everybody to wear their shoes back in those days, but that's what we were wearing.
Yeah.
That no longer exists.
Yeah, and obviously, Big C, you know, one of the great things about sports is it puts the playing field out there for everybody. Oftentimes we talk about the one-and-done players, and so many people criticize the one-and-done players saying, well, they're just taking advantage of the system. But they don't get to that school on their own. There's always somebody helping them. And speaking of helping, this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, obviously, the question is, when they go after the biggest guy in the world of basketball, Rick Pitino's on that list of the top 5. We could talk about Krzyzewski, we could talk about Pitino, and there's a couple other guys you could talk about if you want to bring up who are the iconic coaches of today. Well, let me ask you this question. Do all the guys that are the front men for these guys start shaking in their boots and writing out who they work for before they get thrown under the bus? Big C, your thoughts? Yeah.
Looking at the impropriety, the financials that are moving, and knowing that it's wrong. People want to say these one-and-done players, just let them go to the NBA, and, you know, all this will be, you know, good.
Yeah.
It'll be water under the bridge. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not that many one-and-done players. When you're talking about 100 universities at least being involved out of the 325 universities that play college basketball.
Wow.
Far-reaching investigation, Charles.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna, you don't have 100 players entering the NBA draft every year.
No.
Okay, it's not that many players come out of high school that are good enough to go to the NBA. We're talking 4 or 5 players players each year.
Yeah.
But this money is reaching out to hundreds of players, Charlton. These universities have become totally egregious, and universities have turned their blind eye because of the amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we keep talking about, this free institutionalized slavery.
Yeah.
These players are getting all of these dollars. The NCAA earned $1 billion, over $1 billion for March Madness last year.
Wow.
You think the NCAA was concerned about any athlete? They weren't.
Nope.
They looked at that $1 billion. The president of the NCAA said, hey, we're getting rich. Think about the administrative fees that we have to pay each other in our business.
Yeah.
You know, and so these players are just, you know, free labor in every capacity. They go out, sweat, play their hearts out, Charlton.
Yep.
You know, in the NCAA tournament, 12 players from the NCAA tournament get drafted into the NBA. Of the 64 teams that are in the tournament, 12 of them, they get drafted.
Yep.
Okay, the rest are just out there. So when we think about who cares about the players, nobody does, Charlton. This is it's like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
It's about moving the shell game.
Yep.
Who's making the money and who's not getting it.
Well, Big C, I got to ask you this question because when you're talking about just people got to understand the magnitude. We say that sports is $1 billion industry. And on the college level, it's done for free labor. Of course, high school's free labor. And people may say, well, what about the education? Okay, if you believe in that, education too. But somebody had to drop dime on somebody for the FBI to all of a sudden start looking into the backgrounds of something that's been going on for decades. It's not something that's new. And I don't think it's going to ever break the world of sports. But there was an attorney that told us this. And we know that we've been saying the same thing, that not paying college athletes is an antitrust violation. And the NCAA has been fighting it tooth and nail where they'll find the kid or have him lose a scholarship for taking a sweater or a steak dinner. And now they got egg on their face because somebody's bringing up that they've been breaking the law for a long time. Big C, your thoughts?
It's a little more in depth than just egg on the face. You know, this gets down to a feces situation. Charlton,
Yeah.
As far as what they got on their face. I mean, they know what they have been doing. But as long as everybody, it's like with the NFL owners, Charlton.
Yeah.
As long as everybody looks the same, then we're not going to tell on each other. We're not going to have anybody get in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's where it has been with these NCAA presidents, Charlton, over the years. They've all looked the same. Most of the athletic directors have looked the same.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing these large contracts from these shoe companies allowing the payoff of young athletes coming out of high school. Like I said, Charlton, this is nothing new. I knew about this in the 70s. I watched this happen. I witnessed this happen.
Yeah.
I heard about it directly from the assistant coach and the player.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even when you're filing lawsuits, and lawsuits were filed against the NCAA, Charlton, back in the 70s for trying to put sanctions on universities for playing ineligible players.
Yeah.
Now, the NCAA can care less about the player being ineligible.
Yeah.
All they care about is the bottom line dollar. How do they look in the rankings? Are they putting the best product on the field?
Yeah. Yeah. Big, and Big C, we're having a little bit of trouble with your microphone. I know they're having some weather down south, but I do want to ask you this question. When you look at, there's always something that happens when a scandal like this hits the national airwaves. Ironically, the players have known about it for years. They just shut their mouths because they're getting something under the table. And obviously, a lot of the coaches shut up too. And sometimes when a player or a coach doesn't win enough, they just let go of the coach or they take away the scholarship from the athlete. But what's going to happen to these $100 million budgets for a program like Louisville, especially when your basketball program is prominent and your football program has been getting nationally televised events now because they have a Heisman Trophy candidate? How do they put the fire out to keep that money? Because Big C, we know it's all about the money. Your thoughts? Yeah.
You have to go out and you have to get somebody.
Yeah.
You can't let everybody skate in this scenario, and we know how egregious the Louisville has been.
Yeah.
You know, Rick Pitino should have been gone with the hooker scandal 5 years
He didn't know about the hookers, Big C. He knew nothing about the hookers from what he had said. He knew nothing about the hookers that were coming into his program, helping out his players, you know, making sure they relax before games, Big C. That make any sense?
Well, you know, actually, when the money was flowing in and was evidence of the money flowing.
Yeah.
So where was this extra cash coming from to pay for the liquor parties, Charles? And not only that, you're supplying these young men with the improper benefits, technically.
Yeah.
You know, so at that point, he should have been gone. He and the president also. So we're talking about lack of institutional control.
Yeah.
Improper benefits that were being given out, and they're saying that was okay. But you know what? When you look at this overall in the totality of it, Charles, it is what we have consistently said on our program.
Yeah.
Is that you have to look at what these people are doing and how do you keep getting the top players year in, year out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can't keep replenishing a program year after year with one and done. I mean, his buddy on the other side of the state has to be a little nervous also.
Yeah.
The guy you go out to lunch with, Colin.
Yeah. No, I think that's your friend, Big C.
He's got to be a little nervous.
Yeah.
You know, because he's one of those universities with a huge shoe contract, for one and done players, and always getting the elitists or the elite.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to constantly woo, but you're always telling these kids when they come in, I just want you for a year, I'm going to get you to the NBA.
Yeah.
He has consistently done that. He's gotten over 50 players to the NBA in his time at Kentucky.
Yeah.
But, you know, there has to be some cost in the overall look at things, Shelton, of how these things get done.
Yeah.
The cost is the dollars that players have been getting. If I can get you to give up 1 year pro, how much is it going to take?
Yep.
Did I guarantee you $100,000, $200,000,
Yeah.
$300,000?
Yeah.
You come play for me for a year. I'm gonna get you that money. I'll get you an insurance policy, so just in case you get hurt, you're insured for $20 million.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
But you're gonna have some money, and your family's gonna have some money right now, and you won't get cut this year.
Well, let me just bring this up because we all know just back in about a month or so ago down in Las Vegas and going through Los Angeles, just doing a preview of the Pac-12 conference, and they were having a media day down in Beverly Hills. And I remember telling you that it was announced that Under Armour gave the University of UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, I think $200 million for their athletic programs. Maybe some of it went to science, maybe some of it went to math and history and all that jazz. But we know $200 million for the UCLA Bruins. Now, I'm not saying that UCLA is implicated in all of this. We know California schools do everything right, Big C. They don't do anything wrong like some of the southern schools, Big C. But how does Under Armour or Nike, what's their complicity when they are funding these programs that are going out and sometimes, you know, ladies of the evening come to campus, or they're not going to class either, and nobody knows about it. But where does the $200 million go, Big C? Do they really need that much more money than when the Rose Bowl is getting about 75,000 people every game, Big C? Your thoughts? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so, you know, it was like you were brought into town, you were flown in, you know, you're some young kid out of some small town. And
Yeah.
Literally some of the first plane trips that you'd ever taken.
Yeah.
You were coming in, you know, you were given, and literally, you were given an escort for the evening.
Yeah.
And you were told, we will see you in the morning at such and such time at such and such place.
Yeah.
That's what you were told.
Yeah.
I went to that on several occasions, Chuck, and I was in awe. I was like, wow.
Well, hey, yeah.
Imagine what happened for the 5-star.
Well,
He got more than the money that I was given.
Yeah.
Plus the escort that I was given, Joe.
Well, that's funny, Big C, because it's I'm not funny in a way. It's just ironic because everybody, when they get on TV, they all act like they're these salt of the earth people, and we love the sports business, but we keep talking about the black exploitation when it comes to the role of college sports. And everybody gets money but the black athletes, for the most part, that have made the NCAA a billion-dollar industry. That's why March Madness can charge nearly $1 billion for marketing, because they're getting a lot of these inner-city kids that are very talented and believe that's their way to make it. And it don't matter what color you are. If someone says we're going to give you free college, all you got to do is do what you love for free, and we're going to throw in some women on the side, and we're going to throw some money in, and you're going to drive a nice car, even though you don't have the finances for it. It takes a hard man to say no. Look at Elliot Spitzer out of New York. He had the biggest prostitution ring going, and he was prosecuting men for doing the same thing. We know that it goes on in the world of business, but they're going to single out these college kids. We don't even want to touch on what happens when they get to the paid professions, Big C. But I want to just say this real quick. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation for this billion-dollar industry. And for every event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century, and they work with Big C Sports. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. So Big C, the cat's meow is, and the Pandora's box is, we talked about it yesterday. Now some of the news hit the fan today. In the next week, there'll be more programs that will be made public. What will this do to the gate? We talk about Donald Trump saying that not standing for the flag is anti-American. Well, what about the universities that fly on prostitution and all the illegal things they do to get players? They stand for the flag, Big C. Which one do we believe? Your thoughts?
Donald Trump did the same thing, Chuck, and he operated just like these universities.
Yeah.
I think about back then in college. I grew up in a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom house. One-bathroom house, Charlton. In college, we had 3 bedrooms and 2 baths.
Yeah.
So I lived better in college than what I did in growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
We also had more finances in college than what I had in my household as a child growing up, Charlton.
Yeah.
I got thousands of dollars from the university.
Yeah.
I got periodic white envelopes, Charlton, that I would pick up. I would go to somebody's business, and the secretary would send me back someplace else to go see somebody. That person would see me.
Yeah.
Everybody's 3 or 4 bodies removed from the money, Charlton.
Yep.
So I get the money from some anonymous person who didn't even really know who I was. He was just told to give me an envelope, the black guy, when he showed up.
All that. Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't know how to complain. I was just living in the lap of luxury.
Yeah.
Me and others had, and I think about the scandal that occurred in Ohio.
Yeah, Jim Cecil.
All the players had all these brand new Toyota Nissan cars, Charles.
Yeah.
From a particular dealership. He had some 40 players with a car from one dealership.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and it's like, wow, all the players are getting the same car, brand new. Wasn't a used car, Charles.
Yep.
They were all riding around with the paper tags on them, okay?
Yeah.
They never even had to register.
Yeah.
But they were getting it just like with SMU, the same type of scenario before they got the death penalty, Charlton. I don't think that the NCAA right now literally have the balls to go out and pass out the death penalty to more than one school other than Louisville.
Yeah.
They might make an example, but if you give out to one, Charlton, you got to give it out to at least a dozen. We know the 4 guys that were arrested yesterday by the FBI.
Yeah.
All of them have head coaches with trouble pads. Okay?
And each head coach.
Fired from their previous job, Charlton, and came into these universities.
Yeah.
That they were working at, and these universities would do anything to stay on top.
Yeah.
But if you're going to arrest the guy who's working under the head coach, then the head coach has to be looked at in the same sanction.
Yeah.
Like it's being arrested also, because the money came from somebody.
Yeah.
The assistant coach didn't have a direct line to the money, and the head coach wasn't blind, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not being able to coach basketball.
That's very true. You got to have eyes to see. That good old boy down at Ole Miss, he had the call to the prostitution. In the call, they were saying, well, the call only lasted about a minute. Who was it? Did
somebody put a time on how long it takes?
I guess someone times those things down south, basically. I never knew about that service out here in California, but I do know it. Hey, I guess a lot of people, whatever it is, reach out and touch somebody was a phrase I heard growing up. I didn't know they meant it literally, though, Big C. I thought they meant just make a phone call to somebody. But the scandal is, for the first time, I mean, it's been going on a long time, because they can't kill the golden goose, Big C. They cannot do that. When they put LSU on the death penalty, yeah.
It's social media.
Yeah.
It's using cell phones.
Yeah.
And by doing those things, when it was just landline phones, Charlton, you could not trace somebody's phone records.
Yeah.
You could not tell who they were talking to.
Yeah.
Now with these cell phones, everybody's cell phone bill comes out with the cell phone if you want the paper bill.
Yeah.
Comes out with the call and the length of time on that call, Charlton.
Yeah.
And because you can find out what people are doing, because generally if you're using a university phone, it goes into the general accounting department.
Yeah.
So somebody's looking at it and saying, well, they got all these 800 numbers or 900 numbers on here, whatever they are.
Yeah.
That they're calling on a regular basis, and they call them at night, after hours.
Well, Big C,
Okay?
Big C, remember when Tom Brady, America's paragon quarterback, paragon of virtue, prodigal child of the NFL, that just realized that Trump was a bigot 2 weeks ago, and now he says, well, he doesn't appreciate how he talks to people, even though he grabs them in by the vagina and all that sexual assault stuff. Remember when he was under investigation for Deflategate? They say he couldn't find his cell phone, or he destroyed his cell phone. Who destroys a cell phone, Big C? Who does that?
Tom Brady destroyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those things that this is the reason why he was convicted by the NFL.
Yeah.
Because he took measures to destroy evidence.
Yeah, that's electronic. They can't destroy electronics.
He took measures to destroy evidence.
Yeah.
But they also, Charlton, could go back through the iPhone laboratory. They could call Apple.
It's on the cloud.
Apple could pull up this information.
Yeah.
From their headquarters, and they did that. That's
Yeah.
how Tom Brady was convicted.
Yeah.
Just because you destroyed the device, the company also has the hardware to whatever you've been doing.
Yep,
They
that's
can
true.
get into your system.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened with Tom Brady. Goodell, Apple sponsors the NFL.
Yeah.
They're friends with Goodell, so they went after him.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. But when you look at these coaches, Charlton, the FBI is investigating. They've been doing wiretapping, okay?
Yeah.
They've done a lot of that over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And so they have direct lines of information. They're not dealing with hearsay. When they start arresting people,
Yeah.
that's because they have federal warrants. That's how the FBI operates, under federal warrants, not local warrants.
Yeah.
They're not going down to the local magistrate. This is coming from a federal judge.
You know who's really...
The federal judge knows how egregious these acts are, so he's issuing these arrest warrants. And these people are going to jail. There's going to be a lot of people, Charlton, go to jail for a long time. I mean, this ironically, is eerie of what's going on in Washington.
Yeah.
The egregious act that's going on through the White House and its associates is what college basketball has been doing for the past couple of years.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you know how eerie it is for people in the White House, Donald Trump, to understand that when the FBI takes the time to look into something, they actually know what they're looking for before they issue warrants, and they always issue the investigation first. Same things happen, almost a parallel. I wonder how Donald Trump started getting into the sports business. Almost every night on CNN, he's doing something on the NFL now, more than something on Russia or North Korea or the Puerto Rican issue with all the hurricane problems we've had. He's talking more about sports, or as much about sports as anything. Well, I think ironically, when you look at what's happened to the NCAA and one of their top programs, it's the same thing that's going on in the White House. It's a shame. We'll have to see what happens more as the world unfolds. Big C, I do want to bring up a little bit of sad news as we get ready to close our program. Former Denver Broncos, legend Red Miller, passed, and he is part of one of the greatest organizations in the NFL. Just your thought on Red Miller, what he meant to the NFL, and of course the Denver Broncos. Big C, your thoughts. Yeah.
You got to realize prior to Red Miller showing up in Denver, they had never made a playoff appearance, Charlton.
Yeah.
And Denver Broncos, he took that franchise from obscurity to promise.
Yeah.
Led by Craig Morton at quarterback.
Yeah.
This is a team that reached the Super Bowl in '77 versus the Dallas Cowboys in a controversial game with the Oakland Raiders in the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
Where Rob Lido hit the ball when he was hit by Jack Tatum, but back then you didn't have any instant replay, and it was called a touchdown.
Yeah.
But the Denver Broncos went on to lose 27-10 in the Super Bowl to the Dallas Cowboys, which was America's team and probably the most dominant team in the NFL.
Yeah.
But this is a team that, playing Butch Crush under Red Miller.
Yeah.
He left the same game on defense, and he took the team at Mile High literally to new heights.
Yeah.
And, they became a prominent fixture in the NFL at that point as being one of the better programs.
Yeah.
And Red Miller, he died 1 month shy of his 90th birthday day.
Yep.
And, it's a sad loss in the NFL, fraternity.
Yeah.
To lose a coach of that stature.
Yeah.
Who took a program from nowhere to prominence, Charles.
Yeah, definitely a big C. So obviously our thoughts and prayers go out to Mr. Miller and his family, and obviously 90 years is a good life. But we do want to wish our thoughts to his family and all the people that cared about him. Big C, also, I just want to bring up, the NFL is still a great business. Obviously, we have a lot of programs now are devoting attention to what's going on with the national anthem and patriotism. And I still, now again, I'm a West Coast guy, so maybe I'm a little bit naive when I say this. But I know people talk about standing up for our flag, but I still see a lot of Dixie flags that are down south, and people proudly have those flown because they think it's important. Well, the Dixie flag is what's anti the North, okay? But they still people who praise that, but they don't want to give someone a chance to practice freedom of speech. I do want to just ask your thoughts on where are we going with this. I still think it's about attorneys going into the criminal justice system and Congress passing laws to be fairer in the criminal justice system for all people and not biased against African Americans when it comes to doing time. Big C, your thoughts?
Origination of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick was originally sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Until he had a conversation with a former Army Ranger out
Yeah.
of Texas, okay?
Yeah.
And he spoke with Colin Kaepernick, and he told Colin Kaepernick by him sitting
Yeah.
that he would not appreciate him taking the knee.
Yeah.
That knee showed honor and respect.
And we're still having a little bit of issues with your microphone, Big C. I know we're having some weather down south, but go right ahead.
Let me get back to that point.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick met with an Army Ranger.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why Colin Kaepernick took the knee, Charlton.
Yeah.
The Ranger was out of Texas, and he informed Kaepernick that he felt bad about him sitting down for the national anthem. But he showed respect for the military, showing respect for the flag, is that in the military they took a knee.
Yeah.
For fallen comrades and ceremony. That was the ultimate sign of respect.
Yeah.
Taking a knee. Now, a former Army Ranger out of Texas told Colin Kaepernick the stance to take. So, out of respect to him and the military,
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick took the knee. And so, everyone who did not understand how the military does a salute for its fallen veterans or its wounded veterans
Yeah.
is taking a knee. That's where the misunderstanding came from the ignorance of American society.
Yeah.
And the yahoos out there saying, well, he's being disrespectful, but none of them know about military life, Charlton. Army Ranger informed Colin Kaepernick how to take his stance. Colin
Yeah.
Kaepernick didn't do that openly. He had assistance from a military man, Charlton,
Yeah.
in how to do that. And no one understands that. The message is lost in what Colin Kaepernick started and what he was advised by former military personnel
Yeah.
of how to handle it, Charlton. And all of these protests that are going on by these owners and the players now,
Yeah.
and none of them have come out and given a message of what they're about. Are they about social and racial injustice in America?
Yeah.
They haven't spoke on that, Charlton. And if we don't get that message from them, this is so watered down where this has gone to now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No one is talking about the respect and the dialogue that Colin Kaepernick wanted to create. Everybody's mad at Donald Trump for making stupid comments from a stupid mouth.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why they're all taking these stands.
Well, obviously, America's the land of the free and the home of the brave. We have a right to freedom of speech, and I love it. I love it. That's why I love living in the land of the free. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, what I'm looking forward to is tomorrow. There's going to be a great shootout up in the Northwest where you hang out.
Yep.
Between Washington State and USC. We're going to get Donald and Folk.
Yep.
Folk right now has 103 career touchdown passes, leading all of college football active quarterbacks. Donald came into the season as a Heisman favorite.
Yeah.
Hasn't looked much like it, Charlton.
Yeah.
You're going to find out is he legitimate or not, or is Folk the real deal tomorrow night up in Pullman, Washington, Charlton.
Well, Big C, obviously we look forward to that as we downtown by Golden One Center, Sacramento, California. I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to tell you there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know anyone going through that garbage, just call 911. And also, as we tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.